School has been kicking me in the shins. That's why I have been MIA for a while, but I am done now and I have my camera. So by the time I get home, you guys are going to be getting more quality content. All I need to do is just pack my things out of this place. So as the title says, today's case is about the Titanic Sub missing. The name of this submarine is called the Titanic Sub, apparently created by the Ocean Gate, and it's basically to explore 13,000 feet under the water. I have no idea why someone wants to do that, but I mean, they're billionaires. So the 5 people in this submarine are actually billionaires. One of them named Tucson Rush, and he is the chief executive of Ocean Gate Expeditions, and he was the one piloting the vehicle. And he also graduated with a degree in aerospace engineering in 1854. So obviously meaning he had a lot of experience in this, and he actually had also gone to this particular feat to see the Titanic wreck more than twice. So I think he was very comfortable and could also convince the others that, you know, this is safe, like I've done this lots of times. The second person in this unfortunate submarine incident is called Hamish Harding, and he is actually a British businessman and the managing director of Mr. Harding's company Action Aviation. He actually currently holds multiple Guinness World Records actually, which I obviously I'm shocked about. He holds the longest time spent traversing the deep part of the ocean. One interesting thing about him also was that he previously actually just traveled to space and came back on a mission by Jeff Bezos's Blue Origin rocket company. So I am going to guess that he's just a very adventurous man, because I mean, you know, you went to space and now you're going under the water, you're holding Guinness World Records for, you know, doing all these adventurous things. So I'm guessing that that's just the kind of person that he was naturally. The third person is called Paul Henry Nagelet. He's a French maritime expert who has been on over 35 dives in the Titanic wreck ship. So obviously also major experience, yeah. Then the last 2 people that actually make me really sad, because there's a young boy of 19-year-old that's involved, and this is Shahzada Dawood and his 19-year-old son Suleiman Dawood. So Shahzada Dawood is a British Pakistan businessman, and he is known to be very wealthy, especially in his country. So the Dawoods have a background in fertilizer and textile manufacturing in their country, so they're like, you know, billionaires. And I really feel sad, especially for the 19-year-old son, because I know he had his whole life ahead of him. I mean, you know, he's just 19. So those were the 5 people that were involved. So before you go on this submarine drive, you have to pay a total of $250,000. Now it is unsure, because some people are saying that the $250,000 is only a one-way trip and you're supposed to pay $500,000 in total per person actually. So it's still unsure about that. I'm not going to bring that up here or put that out as a fact, because it's not yet sure. And let's not forget about the fact that they also signed a waiver, a massive waiver that basically states on the first page like 3 times that, like, you know, if you die, you're on your own, basically. Like, I mean, you can't sue, the family can't sue, nada. So I mean, they knew that they could die from the trip, but the fact that they know that there are experts in with them that have gone through this trip and come back, I mean, I don't think they really put that in their head. It basically just slid off the top of their heads. I mean, you know, like, it's like going on like bungee jumping, right? And you know that anything could happen and you still do it anyways, like, right? Kind of. Or is this worse? Yeah, this way worse. It's basically 15,000 steps deep in the ocean. So now let's just dive in deep to what people are majorly angry about, especially considering the fact that they are billionaires. They are basically concerned with the technology that was used to go 15,000 feet deep into the ocean. Like, they basically used a homemade submarine with no GPS system, no backup plan, and it was controlled by a $33 Logitech control gamer pad. You know, when I saw this and I found this out, I was in shock. I didn't believe it. I thought it was like fake information, but it wasn't, because the pilot actually had made a video right before going into the submarine and, you know, going deep into it, and he had basically explained how everything was going to work. And I am going to show you a video probably after this. I just want to get some of the major important points out first. I don't know why I would trust a $33 gaming pad to control my direction 15,000 feet in the ocean. I'm sorry, but I'm not even trying to be like, oh, it's because you're not in the shoes of this person, because I mean, it's like flying up in the sky and you tell me to go with a $50, like you're going to control me in the air with a $50 game pad. I just can't. Like, I don't know what, I don't know how this, man, I'm still in shock that that was actually what they used. I just don't feel comfortable with a $33 game pad determining if I come out of a 15,000 feet death wish. That's just me. And honestly, at this point, I don't think there is a chance, or there's a chance to save them at this point, because it's been hours, it's been days. They left on Sunday morning by 6 a.m. on the 17th of June, basically by 6 a.m. And it is the 21st of June now. So they basically have like, what, 10 hours more? And I don't think there is even any way or hope. I mean, I don't want to be not positive, I don't want to be negative, but I'm just thinking about the logical ways that this could actually go, because one of the most likely experience right now is that they are either deep at the bottom of the ocean, everything is pitch black, they have no food, they are in shock. That's if someone has not even already died from the shock of being down there, especially like, you know, the young boy that's involved. And like, you know, it's basically happened before where there was actually a ship, so where there was actually a submarine missing, I think the Ocean 3 or a submarine like that, but they were not 15,000 feet deep, they were like 1,500 feet deep, and they spent 80 hours in the ocean before they were found and rescued. This particular submarine missing with Billionaires inside is the first case that has ever happened. No technology has gone that deep, and even if they can go that deep, how do they want to retrieve the submarine? No one knows. And considering the fact that they have 96 hours of oxygen and they've spent like, what, 3 days or 4 days now, they basically have like 10 hours left at this point, and it's not looking good, bruh. It's not looking good. But obviously it's good to still have hope. You know, there are many people that think that, you know, maybe the submarine had some malfunctions and obviously like probably floated up to the surface of the ocean, and which is actually going to be, I think, possibly all right, but still not all right, because even if they are on the surface of the ocean, there's no way they can open that submarine because it was bolted shut from the outside. So only a crew member or someone from outside can undo those bolts to bring them out. And like I said, they have just some hours of oxygen to live their life, and it's just not looking good at this point. And even if they are down deep in the ocean, which is the worst case scenario, well, actually the worst case scenario is that they are dead and probably a submarine imploded, hopefully not. They are in pitch blackness and obviously hungry, you know, knowing that they're probably thinking of their death, and you know, it's just 100% horrible to even think about. At this point, some people are even saying that it's better if, like, you know, they don't have to go through that and they just experience, like, you know, like unknowing like clash, so that, you know, it just, instead of suffering from the beginning to the very end out of fear. But hopefully we're still having hope. There has been a team out to search for them, and like on the third day they said that they could hear some underwater noises and some bangs, but they're not really sure if it was actually from the submarine, and they are hoping it is, but it's still hard to locate them, and they are not still able to locate them through the SOS machine. And apart from what pissed other people off, do you know what pissed me off personally? I found out that this submarine and this excursion or underwater deep diving that they were going in through or to did not have a window. It didn't have a window. So basically what is going to happen is that they're just going to get into the submarine, go 15,000, 14,000, 13,000 feet deep into the deep sea ocean, basically. And they are not going to actually be able to use their eyes to see the shipwreck. The shipwreck is going to be seen on a screen while they are in the submarine. The little hole that is inside the submarine, like it's just basically a small window, is for the light for the pilot to be able to see the direction of his movement and to navigate wherever it is that he wants to go to. It is not for the sight of the Titanic. So that was what like rubbed me off. I was like, okay, yeah, like you know, you're going sightseeing to see the Titanic, fine. Like I mean, might as well see it with your naked eyes. If not, you are just as good as everybody that's seen it on the freaking screen. Like, I mean, that's just what pissed me off the more. And I'm like, pay $250,000, possibly $500,000 to see it on a screen, but in danger. That's just what it rubbed off to me as. I was like, what? That makes absolutely no sense. And to think that there's a man called Dr. Michael Gulen who actually is a scientist and has actually had kind of an accident, basically actually an accident, while he was visiting the Titanic shipwreck years ago. And I'm going to play the video now.
About September 2000, I was invited to become the first correspondent to report from the Titanic. I had a deathly fear of water, but being a correspondent, you don't say no to an invitation like that. So I went. We left Halifax, Canada, went on station above the Titanic, then dove in there 2.5 miles down to the bottom of the Titanic. And as your viewers may or may not know, when the Titanic sank, it broke into two pieces. The bow section went straight down. The stern did a somersault. And so it exposed, when it landed on the bottom, it exposed the propeller. So when we toured the bow, there was no problem. There was a moment of silence we had just for the sake of the victims there. It's all very somber, very haunting. And then as we traversed the debris field over towards where the stern section had landed, the first thing that caught my eye was the giant propeller. And when I say giant, it's huge compared to our sub. Our sub was like a little mosquito compared to the blades of the propeller. But I remarked to myself how shiny it was because it's got brass, and so it doesn't corrode the way the rest of the Titanic has. And as that happened, as I was just dazzled by this giant propeller, I noticed we were speeding up, and that seemed strange to me. I thought we should be slowing down. And we later found out that we got caught up in a very high speed underwater current. Those do exist down there. We got slammed right into the blades of the propeller, became trapped behind the blades of the propeller. And not only did we feel the collision, but also huge pieces of the Titanic started falling down on us, and we knew we were in trouble.
Wow. Trapped behind the propeller. How did you manage to get yourselves out?
Well, you know, it's when you were down there, my first concern was panic. Would there be anybody, the pilot or my diving buddy, would they panic? Because we'd been told a story on board the ship before we dove of a man who was caught in a similar situation and in his panic went to the escape hatch thinking he would go out that way. He wasn't thinking, obviously, and of course, expedited his doom. The pressures down there, if the water, even through a little crack, comes through, it'll cut you like a razor blade. So I, being a scientist, started thinking, okay, I'm a professional problem solver. We're stuck 2.5 miles below the surface of the water. How do we get out? And it took me the better part of a half hour or more as our pilot tried to jog us out, and he wasn't succeeding. I finally really hit a brick wall and realized, no, this is the end of it. And this voice in my head actually said to me, and I'll never forget the words, this is how it's going to end for you. And for me as a correspondent who'd been to the North Pole, the South Pole, I'd covered Persian Gulf War and other places where I was in harm's way, always managed to survive it. For me, that was a bitter pill to swallow. And I thought of my wife. I'd never see her again. So I don't like recalling that experience. I was fortunate enough by the grace of God and by the skill of our pilot, who was a former MiG pilot, this was a Russian sub, he was able to finally extricate us after the better part of an hour. But then even when we got out, it was a question of getting to the surface, and you corkscrew the surface. It takes about 2.5 hours more. So it's an experience that I'll never forget in my life. And my heart goes out to these people who are lost. I'm just so sick to my stomach to think of those poor people down there. I know what it's like.
So it basically is 100% not looking good, because even if they did find them or they did locate them, there is no technology enough, or there isn't any technology that has existed yet to bring them out of that submarine, because now they're 15,000 feet deep in the ocean and they can't come out of the submarine because obviously the pressure of the water and their lungs, they won't be able to survive that. If there's even as much as a leak, the water could even like cut them because of the pressure. Like it's so bad. I mean, so freaking bad. I cannot imagine how scared they are in pitch black darkness. I'm just cannot imagine what they are going through. Biden is also involved in this, sending out troops and actually spending millions to actually try to find or locate this submarine. And the family of the billionaires, especially the wives, have actually gone out to the location of where this submarine actually went into the water to just stand there, pray and hope for the best. And right now I am just basically kind of irritated by the kind of TikToks and Twitter posts and tweets I've seen about the fact that these people are billionaires and could do anything they wanted and they chose to go deep down, blah 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 blah. But people go bungee jumping, people go skydiving, you know, like I know like it's weird that okay, yeah, 15,000 deep. What I felt weird about was the fact that you weren't even going to see it up front, you know, you were going to see it on a screen. So I'm like, what was the point? But nevertheless, I just feel like if everybody had the money to do it, they might consider it too. I don't know. Me personally, no. But I mean, it's just like an adventurous thing, just like someone going into space or someone, you know, scuba diving. I mean, it's just like an adventurous thing that, you know, if they knew that was going to happen this way, obviously they would take back everything. But I mean, accidents happen, and you know, so I don't think the jokes of them going to, or you know, all those silly jokes I've been seeing about how they are getting the full Titanic experience now, or you know, all those type of things, I don't think they are really necessary. Honestly, it takes 2 hours to get to the feet that they are in. So if they do not find them by 3 hours to the time that their oxygen elapses, or even if they find them 2 hours to the time their oxygen elapses, might still be good. But anytime after that is basically a stretch. So we're basically just going to hope for the best at this point, and that will be the end of this video, guys. See you in my next video.